Well, it's been a week of business and interesting data has emerged. To go through it all, let's bring in the independent analyst, Evan Lucas. Evan, good to see you. So the figures yesterday, not quite a contraction, but pretty close.
Yeah, actually, if you want to look at per capita, it was. So if we look again at the per capita basis, it's 4 quarters in a row now of negative numbers, and we are down 1%. So I think you need to look also at that. And you said, the 0.2% growth in the final quarter of last calendar year, that we would describe as anemic. So there is absolutely signs already that the pressure is there. One of them that really stands out to me was the fact that we are saving again. So after basically spending over and over from the end of COVID lockdowns to this the September quarter, we've changed our habits. We've seen a massive fall in overseas travel, 9%, a 5.4% fall in imported apparel like purchases, cars, etc. as well. That shows that the change is on, and that basically we are hoarding again from the point of view that we know that cost of living is seeing fairly strong increases in food, mortgage repayments and rent repayments, overall electricity insurance. That's where the payments are going. So our habits have changed. The consumption is down. And if it wasn't for net exports and it was for government spending, we probably would have seen ourselves going backwards.
Yeah, look, now there's a tension placed, and we criticised this at the time when the RBA made that last rate rise. A lot of folks thought that wasn't necessary, that the RBA jumped the gun on that. Does this latest data prove that correct?
Probably. I mean, I was one of them. So I do want to say that.
I agreed with you too.
Yeah. And at the same time, I know there are people that are very clearly pointing out the opposite, and I get their point of view. But yes, if you look, this is the quarter that had that additional rate rise in, and it was on, at the time, the fact that we saw the September initial read of inflation being above expectations of about 5.4. That got downgraded to 5.1 in the next quarter, and we now see ourselves even further down, and it showed that in the GDP as well. The GDP number for inflation was 4.1 year on year. That was the lowest it's been since 2021. So I would agree that maybe they have. I mean, they need to do it. We know that. It is also, the numbers would argue that they will point it out, that they're actually doing the right thing. Economic slowdown is on. It's not cratering, which is probably a good thing. But as I said, the word is anemic, and on a per capita basis, we're in recession. So that needs to be taken and addressed going forward. Okay. That's why some people are saying 3 rate cuts this year. I don't. But in saying that, there is no doubt the RBA is going to have to start really looking at growth, because growth now is becoming a headache.
It looks like there's, you've been fairly consistent on this too, that there will at least be some rate cuts this year. When do you think the first one will come into play now, Evan?
If they go 2 this year, it will be in September, unfortunately. Right. I know that's a long way away, but they are going to do what they always do, which is that we need data, right? We're already hearing them talk about data. So they will need at least half a year of this calendar year's data before they make that decision. So September's the earliest. More likely, it'll probably be actually October, November, December, somewhere around then. So that,
Sorry, Evan. I mean, I guess people will say the danger is if there's going to be 3 rate cuts, does that just put a fire under the housing market again and it goes off again?
We've also got to talk about the statutory tax cuts, right? So from July 1, you will be getting some form of stimulus in your back pocket. Now, as I said, with what we saw with the numbers, is that we're starting to save. So it's more likely to sit in your back pocket rather than actually going into the economy. But in saying that, that is probably also almost the equivalent of a 0.25% rate cut, right? So that also needs to be taken into consideration. The RBA won't say that publicly because that's obviously some form of political interference. Yeah. But that is certainly what they're thinking as well, is that they know they have that additional increase from the fiscal side rather than from the monetary policy side.
Okay, yep. As the Treasurer warned yesterday, there are still some bumpy roads ahead. Evan, good to chat as always. We'll talk to you soon.